Welcome to Trending Update USA. I am Steffan, and today we turn our attention to the unfolding storyline surrounding Aryna Sabalenka, a narrative that has grabbed headlines across the global tennis community. The tennis world is no stranger to emotional intensity, competitive fire, and moments where adrenaline takes over judgment, but every once in a while, an episode emerges that not only captures the essence of rivalry but also exposes the deeper layers of an athlete's personality. Aryna Sabalenka, the Belarusian powerhouse known for her explosive ground strokes and fierce court demeanor, has once again placed herself at the center of controversy. But this time, the aftermath reveals a more reflective and self-aware side of the world. Number 2. What began as a moment of friction between competitive warriors has gradually transformed into a story of accountability, self-correction, and a re-evaluation of what it means to compete at the highest level. This latest episode unfolded after a tense battle with one of her circuit rivals, a match charged with momentum swings, intense rallies, and emotional flare-ups that pushed Sabalenka to the brink of composure. The confrontation, though minor in the physical sense, quickly became amplified across social media, where slow-motion replays, clip sound bites, and a sea of fan commentary escalated a rather standard tennis disagreement into a trending controversy. Sabalenka, who has often been criticized for her bluntness and sometimes combustible reactions, initially defended her actions with the kind of firmness that her supporters have come to expect from her. She pointed to the heat of competition, the pressure of elite performance, and a desire to protect her territory on the court as the reasons behind her emotional reaction. Yet, despite the defensiveness, something shifted within a matter of hours. A shift that fans and analysts are now calling one of the most genuine moments of growth in her recent career. Instead of doubling down on her earlier comments or ignoring the uproar entirely, Sabalenka chose to issue a public apology, acknowledging not only the specific incident with her rival but also her broader responsibility as an ambassador of the sport. For an athlete whose public persona has often been shaped by rugged individualism, raw emotion, and unfiltered candor, this pivot came as a surprise to many. Her apology was direct, unembellished, and notable for what it lacked. There were no deflections, no half measures, no quiet implication that outside forces or context should excuse her behavior. Instead, Aryna Sabalenka simply stood up and admitted she could have handled the moment better. And that, in the world of elite sports psychology, is often the clearest sign of maturity. But the story does not end with the apology. What has truly set this incident apart is the way Sabalenka has subsequently spoken about it. In the hours and days following the apology, her tone, her language, and even her demeanor in press conferences have undergone a noticeable transformation. The former Grand Slam champion, often known for straight talk that oscillates between refreshing and confrontational, began to emphasize empathy, sportsmanship, and a deeper understanding of how her reactions ripple across the tennis ecosystem. She spoke about learning moments, about wanting to be a better competitor, and about acknowledging the frustration that sometimes spills over in tight matches. In doing so, she effectively changed her tune, not in a manufactured PR sense, but in a way that reflects a genuine internal recalibration. The phenomenon of athletes navigating emotional self-management is a well-discussed theme among performance psychologists, and Sabalenka's recent transition offers a textbook case study. When competitors at her level step into the arena, they carry the weight of expectations, national representation, media scrutiny, and personal ambition. The intensity of these forces often compresses into a snapshot moment, such as the disagreement with her rival. Initially, Sabalenka responded with instinct, a protective reflex born out of warrior-like focus. But as the adrenaline receded, so did the need to defend ego, opening space for reflection. It is this reflection that fans and analysts are now praising, noting that Sabalenka's ability to pivot emotionally and take public accountability demonstrates a rare level of psychological flexibility. Fans have had mixed reactions, though a majority appear to appreciate the authenticity of her apology. Supporters argue that Sabalenka's willingness to backtrack from her earlier defensiveness shows maturity and respect for her peers. Critics, however, question whether the shift was driven by genuine self-awareness or by public pressure in an age where social media outrage can quickly damage an athlete's reputation. But even among skeptics, there is acknowledgement that Sabalenka's tone has softened in a way that appears thoughtful rather than strategic. She has begun discussing her rival in terms of respect rather than rivalry, choosing to highlight athletic ability rather than competitive tension. For those who follow the psychological arcs of top-tier athletes, this is precisely the kind of evolution that foreshadows a more balanced, composed future for Sabalenka. Meanwhile, her rival has accepted the apology, opting to de-escalate the public narrative and emphasize mutual respect. This reciprocal professionalism demonstrates the kind of dynamic the WTA has been striving to cultivate, one where rivalries are fierce but grounded in respect, where emotional flare-ups are treated as human moments rather than character flaws, and where athletes can evolve publicly without fear of being perceived as weak. The incident has sparked broader conversations across the tennis community about the emotional toll of competition and the need for mental resilience training at the highest levels. Sabalenka's own journey has been shaped by emotional highs and lows, from tearful press conferences after tough losses to exuberant celebrations after major wins. She has always worn her heart openly, which makes her public transformations particularly visible. And in this latest chapter, the transparency of her evolution has allowed fans to witness the inner work of self-regulation, something that often goes unseen behind closed doors. In press interactions following the apology, Sabalenka has gone beyond addressing the specific incident. She has reflected on her broader growth, on her desire to manage emotions more effectively, and on her commitment to improving her composure during tight matches. She has spoken about mindfulness, about leaning on her coaching team, and about learning to recognize the difference between competitive energy and emotional overreaction. These comments suggest that Sabalenka is not merely reacting to pressure but is actively developing a more sophisticated understanding of her psychological landscape. The tennis world is paying close attention, especially because Sabalenka is entering a period of her career where emotional stability will be essential. As the sport enters a new era dominated by young, fearless competitors, mental resilience will increasingly decide matches at the highest levels. Sabalenka's newfound introspection could be a key factor in determining her trajectory over the next several seasons. If she successfully integrates emotional management into her game, she could become not just a physical powerhouse but a fully dimensional competitor capable of controlling matches mentally as well as technically. However, it would be a mistake to frame this incident solely as a story of personal growth. It also reflects broader shifts in public expectations around athlete behavior. In the digital age, where every gesture is magnified, athletes are navigating unprecedented scrutiny. Fans expect authenticity, accountability, and emotional intelligence, often forgetting that even the most polished professionals are human beings navigating extraordinary pressure. Sabalenka's apology has been received as a rare moment of vulnerability, a window into the emotional turbulence that lies beneath the surface of elite performance. The shift in her tone suggests that she understands the modern dynamics of public perception. But more importantly, it shows that she is willing to evolve even when evolution requires confronting uncomfortable truths. The tennis narrative moves fast, and soon the sport will shift its attention to upcoming tournaments, new matchups, and fresh rivalries. But this incident will linger in the background of Sabalenka's public identity, likely shaping how fans interpret her future interactions with rivals. If she continues on this path of accountability and emotional refinement, the apology may come to represent a turning point in her career, a moment when the fierce competitor embraced a new level of self-awareness. As always, the true test will emerge on the court. Sabalenka's ability to translate emotional growth into competitive stability could define her performance in the next stretch of tournaments. Her rivals will test her patience, her composure, and her ability to maintain equilibrium in high-pressure scenarios. If she succeeds, she may not only reshape how fans view her but also redefine what it means to compete with controlled aggression, channeling fire without letting it ignite chaos. For now, the tennis world watches, analyzes, and interprets. And Aryna Sabalenka stands at a crossroads, her true colors reflected not in the heat of confrontation but in the maturity of her response. For Trending Update USA, I am Steffan, bringing you the full perspective on the stories shaping the global tennis landscape.